In Chapter 10, we study logical gates. A logical gate is a device implementing a Boolean function. Now, what is a Boolean function? It is a function where the domain can only have two elements, 0 and 1. Now, these elements could also be true or false, or on and off, or any elements that will represent two states. The range of this function also can only have 0 or 1. Now, because the domain is limited to only two elements, then it's easy to list all possible Boolean functions. And because each element in the domain can be associated with 0 or 1, then there are a total of 4 possible functions. And here are all 4 of them. Now, Boolean functions also can have two inputs, or in this case, the domain will have tuples, and each entry of the tuple will have 0 or 1. So this is an example of a Boolean function with two inputs, x and y. X can assume values of 0 or 1, and so can y. Then there's a total of 4 possible inputs, and each input can be associated with 0 or 1. Therefore, there are 16 of these Boolean functions with two inputs. Now, usually when we talk about a function, we think about a mathematical formula. For this particular Boolean function here, we may ask, what is the formula for that? How do we obtain a mathematical formula that will give these outputs? Now, for Boolean functions, we don't actually need a formula. The rule for the function is described by simply listing all possible outputs. The number of elements in the domain is limited, then we can simply list all possible outputs. Now, in traditional algebra, where there are infinite number of inputs and outputs, we cannot use the same process of listing all possible outputs to describe the function, because there are infinite number of numbers. For example, for this particular function here, we have this formula. The output is 2 times the input. Then if x is 2, the output is 4. If x is 3, the output is 6. Now, we cannot simply list all the possible outputs, or all possible cases, because this is an infinite set. Now, for Boolean functions, we usually don't have a mathematical formula. Now, there are special logical gates or special Boolean functions with two inputs. Now, 2 of them we're going to look now. Now, the first one is the AND gate, or the Boolean function AND, and it's described by this table here. And the second one is the OR gate, or the Boolean function OR, and it's described by this table. Now, if you do want a formula or a rule that will define the output, for example, this logical gate AND, then you can say that the output is 1 only if x is 1 and y is 1. Otherwise, the output will be 0. That's one way to describe the function. Here's a way to describe the OR gate. The output is 0 only if x is 0 and y is 0. Otherwise, the output will be 1. There is one special Boolean function with one input. It's the NOT gate. And it's easily described by the reverse of the input, right? If the input is 0, then the reverse of that is 1. And if the input is 1, the output is 0.